right, in this edition of Goss's Garage, we want to continue our discussion on batteries, some of the intricacies and so on. Now, last time we talked about the cold cranking amps and things like that, and why that is important to buy the battery with the most cold cranking amps that will fit in your car. And don't buy all of the crazy terms and so on. All right, now why? If we look at this battery, now of course we have some sulfation going on in here, but we can see that this battery is a series of plates and paper separators that keep the plates from touching one another. The plates are made of lead, and it's a special lead sponge that is designed for batteries. And in all of this area in here, that liquid that you have in there, that is a mixture of sulfuric acid and water. Now, why do we want more cold cranking amps? Well, it'll make the battery last longer simply because more cold cranking amps means that as we use this battery, we get less reaction inside, and that reaction is real simple. As we draw electrical energy out of this battery, what happens is that sulfuric acid leaves the solution with the water and enters the surface of the plates. Now, as we do that, the plates swell up. Once the car has started, then what happens is that the alternator charging the battery, or if we're going to charge it with a charger, however we're going to do it, drives that sulfuric acid out of the plates back into solution with the water. And that means the plates contract. Now, the lower the cold cranking amps relative to the demands of the car, the more acid we push into those plates during the starting cycle, the more they swell up, the more they compress when we charge it. So that means that as we're expanding and contracting these plates during a starting cycle and then a run cycle, there's little teeny bits of the surface lead sponge from the plates themselves that slough off. And it falls to the bottom of the battery, a little chamber down there. It gives it space for this stuff to collect. Well, over time, with one of these lesser batteries, we get a lot of this expansion and contraction. We get a lot of material sloughing off. It builds up in the bottom of the battery quicker, and that means that sooner or later, that conductive lead sponge from the plates is going to touch the bottoms of the plates. When it does, the plates are shorted against one another, just as if you didn't have the separators between them, and you have a bad battery. So more cold cranking amps, less expansion and contraction of the plates. Less expansion and contraction of the plates means less material sloughing off of the surface of the plates, means the battery will last longer. So that is one of the primary reasons behind higher cold cranking amps. So, all right, now some other things about batteries. Number one, there are a lot of mistakes that people make about servicing their batteries. The battery posts have to be kept clean. In order to do that properly, you have to take the battery cable off, which means you have to know how to protect the memories in the car and things like that. So not really a do-it-yourself service anymore. But the big thing is that in order to service this battery properly, you're going to take the cable off. You're going to clean the inside of the cable. You're going to clean the outside of the post, and then you're going to put it back together. Now, one of the things you don't do is you don't just pour baking soda on it, baking soda and water. You don't pour Coke on it or anything like that. Yeah, it'll get rid of the the stuff that you see on the outside, but that's not where the electrical energy transfers from the battery to the battery cable and then into the car. It transfers on the inside, from the outside of the post to the inside of the cable. All right, cleaning it up out here may look good to you, but hey, I have news for you. Electricity doesn't have eyes, and it can't appreciate how pretty you made the outside of that connection look. And in the process, you probably made the electrical connection worse because some of the crap that you put in there to clean the outside migrated down in there. Now you have an insulating material between the post and the cable, and it doesn't work as good as it did before. So, another thing that you don't do, this has been around for years and years and years. They'll tell you, you clean the cable, you do it right, and then you take Vaseline and you coat the outside of this connection. Well, whoop-dee-doo. Isn't that special? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're building yourself a disaster for a modern car simply because under the hood of a modern car, hot as all get out. And Vaseline, petroleum jelly, whatever you want to call it, has a very low melting point. So when it gets really hot under the hood of the car, this stuff melts. It migrates down between the cable and the post, and now you have an insulator instead of a conductor between the post and the cable. You have again made matters worse, but it looks good to you. So once you're done with this, let's see if we can find, yeah, here we go. This is what you use on battery cable connections. It's a special battery terminal coating. Now what you do with that is once everything is together, you spray that whole area, including up underneath the cable, so that this will form an airtight seal to help keep fumes from the battery, and those fumes are acid-laden, so you keep those fumes from getting to the metal, and that'll help prevent the corrosion. So that's what you use on batteries. Now, of course, General Motors, they use what's called a side terminal battery, so instead of the cable going down over a post, the cable end has this bolt in it, such as we see here, and it bolts to the side of the battery. Now, these are unique because you need a special cleaner for them and different things like that, but those often look perfectly. And I can't tell you how many GM cars we get in here that intermittently won't start. Lights come on and everything seems normal, but you hit the key and it goes click, or it goes click, 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 something like that. And what do we find? It looks good, but we find that the bolts in those cables go bad. They look all right, but again, electricity doesn't have eyes. They can't appreciate the same things that we appreciate. So electrically, these things are not conducting the current into the car. So one of the things we recommend, if you have a GM car that every once in a while, and it does have these side terminal connections on it, every once in a while just goes click when you go to start it, well, the thing that you do is go out and buy a pair of high-quality battery cable bolts and install them. Good chance, I would say based on what we see here in the shop, 50 to 80% chance that single thing will correct the problem. So these are some of the things that you have to know about proper maintenance on a battery. Next time, we're going to talk about one of the things that I personally despise and recommend that you never use. We're going to talk about booster cables. That's next time on Goss's Garage. And if you have a question, a comment, or just want lots of great information, check us out at goss-garage.com.